what's interesting that's happening in our industry, and you know this as well as anyone, there's two main things that are happening. On the one side, there's this growing importance around privacy and security, particularly as it relates to first-party data. And then there's also this real need to collaborate and share data. So we have these two big factors or forces that are happening, one privacy and governance and the other data collaboration. And typically those two areas were opposing each other. The more data collaboration or data sharing you would have, the less privacy compliant you were. And now with Snowflake, one of the things that we're doing is we're bringing privacy and governance around first-party data and data collaboration, but we're actually increasing the governance around that and the privacy around that, because you don't have to move or copy your data in order to share and join it with your partners in your ecosystem. And that's part of what is being announced today with Disney and a number of other customers and partners.
So tell us sort of what that solves from a marketing standpoint or a sales standpoint, or for an engagement with their viewers. What's the value of this sort of solution versus just a cloud storage place, if you will?
Exactly. So yeah, let me break it down a little bit, and I can give some examples and probably the best way to explain it. But let's say traditionally you're a media company, you're a publisher, and you have a streaming service, and you're having to collect all kinds of subscriber information. And you have a consent and a relationship with consumers. Traditionally, then, once you had that subscriber information, you would want to make sure that you had an identity graph built around that. So you knew the customer, and you had an understanding of, let's say, what their email address was through privacy consent, but you also wanted to match it with a cookie or an IP address or whatever identifiers, because that consumer is interacting with you on multiple platforms, not just one. So as a media company, as a publisher, you would typically have to send your data, copy and send that data about your customer to an identity partner, a company like an Experian or a LiveRamp or others. And part of what we're announcing today is that, and using the Snowflake Media Data Cloud, Experian is actually doing the identity from within Snowflake itself, so that media publisher or the advertiser who has the customer data doesn't have to send it anywhere. They keep it where it already exists in their Snowflake environment, and then Experian is enriching and doing the identity where the data lives. And so the biggest way to think about that is that we're bringing applications to where your data is, as opposed to the privacy and sometimes governance challenges of copying and sending data out. And so what that means for media companies and publishers is that in that example, you have always on identity. If I have always on identity and somebody comes and visits me and is in the market for something, then I have an always on ability to identify them as an audience and drive a campaign forth, as opposed to a week or two that might go by and bringing in their identity profile where I've missed them out of the window that they might have been in the market for something. So always on identity or an embedded identity is a great example of what we're doing in order to improve marketing effectiveness, because that kind of always on nature is going to drive marketing performance and capabilities.
Now, Bill, tell us about interoperability and sort of how that works, and in your solution. We hear quite a lot about different identity graphs. The agencies are making a big move. There's a number of vendors that you've mentioned. There are other vendors that are in the space. And there's a big need, it seems, by covering the industry, for things to be interoperable, to be able to share in a safe way. And how is that part of the mix, and what is that need in the industry now?
I think you could use the term interoperability, but you could also use the term data connectivity. So let's kind of break that down and what that means. If I have identity or an enrichment solution, a lot of times I'm somebody who owns the customer data. It's first party to me. I could be an advertiser, I could be a publisher, but then I have to send it in other places for it to be interoperable, right? It might create a set of match tables between identity providers. I might have to send it to a partner for measurement. I might have to send the data to a partner for enrichment. And so what we mean when we say interoperable is we're breaking interoperability down to a data layer and letting the data connect or frictionlessly join each other without movement. And that's what Snowflake's technology does. It's why we're one of, if not the fastest growing enterprise software company in history, is that we're letting this frictionless data sharing or data connectivity happen. And if you can connect and have data connectivity, then that's the foundation for interoperability, okay? And we let our partners and our customers decide how they may interoperate. So one company might say, I want to join with my partner on an email address that's hashed and protected, while another company might say, I want to join on some other anonymous identifier or even a third-party identifier. So we're unlocking many ways to interoperate because we're connecting the data layer together. And that's sort of when you really break down interoperability in the industry, is what our industry has been lacking, is a technology that lets all the parties design how they want to collaborate with different companies. Companies want to interoperate in multiple ways. And we and our technology at Snowflake let them design how they might want to do that interoperation. So they could join on an email address, they could maybe join on an IP address, they could design X number of people in a particular segment. Whatever way they want to share and collaborate on data, Snowflake is configurable to let them design that. But at the end of the day, they don't have to move or copy their data anywhere. They're just designing their own collaboration rules.